You may be surprised by what comes next for the Qs, because even I might be surprised, because that's how we do things around here. We trade like water while paying attention to both signals in front of us. And right here, we do have some interesting things we wanted to talk about, maybe even something like a double top on these shorter time frames. We're going to get into that as we do some stock market analysis, some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, NVIDIA, AMD, and Meta, looking over at AMC and GME as well. Going to peek over at the dollar and volatility, because this area does show we should be cautious, but we need to talk about ranges. We got a lot to get into, so let's just get started. First thing we need to talk about is the SPY, right? We like to start off with the SPY. We like to start off by giving you those daily expected moves. Another tiny range, even smaller, right? We're getting smaller and smaller ranges. 573.86 to the upside. We do have 568.74 to the downside. So even smaller. So what does this tell us? Well, we've been remaining in those ranges for quite some time. I think we're actually due to break through one of those ranges. I actually think we are due for that, especially if we get another trickling day with apparently, we get low, if not that important of data. Well, on Thursday, that all changes. So Thursday is going to be a massive day. I highly suggest you come back Wednesday night for the video before Thursday and join us live Thursday morning. But this is our 68% zone for tomorrow. So what can we expect? Well, more of a lull of a day is the most expected thing at this point. But we see some key things happening here. The only problem with this move right here is it is so flaggy. It is so flaggy. We haven't had that breakout moment, which would be breaking above this high. So that is what I really want to pay attention to. Now, the Qs are going to be better to watch for the 30-minute. We're going to get into that in a moment. But looking at the SPY, I just wanted to show this 2 hours saying we should be pulling back, but we're just squeezing higher. So what you're seeing here is almost like a trickling up squeeze, like selling is not able to hit the tape right now. And so what you're really waiting for is eventually, is that going to actually take over and we will hit the levels you were still supposed to be consolidating to? I think that a weekly range would be something fantastic to pull down to. I'm really liking this price point down here, and we're seeing a few reversal signals from volatility that are slightly starting to get violated, right? So we have to pay attention to upside. Now, in order to see the upside, right, we know the downside. The downside at this point is going to be if we can get some bigger time frames to really start curling down, you see the divergence, right? We already talked about these throughout the week this week. So how would we head up, though? It's if this hourly was able to cross. If you're here for this live video this morning, we were really saying, hey, look for that hourly to fully cross with a solid bar. And that just has not happened yet for the MACD down here. All you see are red bars on that histogram. So these are the things that I'm paying attention to. And you notice that I said at the beginning of the video, this move might even surprise me, because that's how I like to trade. I like to think of both scenarios, not try to guess which way, put a position and guess which way it's going to go, but more wait for something to happen. Wait for this to cross. Then I know there's a weekly expected move right here. Wait for the Qs to pull down. That's when I know that is confirmed and pullback is the most likely situation. We're going to continue talking about that throughout this video. Qs, and we were on the live video, was a similar thing, right? We were looking for that hourly to cross up. That did not happen, and some reversal signals have been popping up in this area. You might even see it here on this hourly chart, but it's pretty good on the 30-minute. We're going to switch to that after giving you those daily expected moves. We do have 489.45 to the upside and 481.29 to the downside. So the key thing here is pulling down into a 30-minute chart. We have two opportunities here, and this is where we really get to talk about there's a way up, there's a way down. Because this right here is saying this is your way down. This right here is saying this is your way down. This crosses over on this MACD down here. We get back below that center line. You have divergence all across this on the RSI and MACD at the same time. Very, very significant. So if this wants to, all it has to do is cross down, see a solid move, break this low, and you might see something crazy. But there's always two sides to it, and that's why we like to react on this channel. We call it trading like water, because you're always just moving around those rocks, paying attention to the signals, figuring out which way the stock market or a certain stock wants to go, and then you want to be a part of that stream. You want to be a part of that momentum, so you end up in the meadow, not the sewer, and that's the big thing here. So it's important to react in real time, because we can see a bullish thing here right away. And that is that we were able to build back up to where you need to consolidate to break through. All right. So if we're able to break through, the problem there is if we're not able to go up to a weekly expected move, maybe we just react to that daily expected move and pull down, you still will be holding this divergence. So even if we see upside, we need to be cautious in these areas. It means that we more likely need to see a 2-hour pullback. And you're noticing we actually see the same signals very flat here, but we do see those signals on a 2-hour. We're far away from the center line, so 2-hour pullback looks like the most likely situation. Maybe even if we go higher and then we start to pull back on that 2-hour. What we're looking for is to get down by the center line, cross up into positive territory. That's really what we're looking for. You can kind of see one of those instances right here where we made a solid move, right? This is still a solid move. We made a solid move over in this direction. We saw that 2-hour able to pull down. We crossed up. We saw positivity. We crossed back down. Okay, react. And then we react again because we crossed back up into positive territory again. And look at that move. So that's why we want to pay attention to the signals. That's why on this channel we do trade like water. And if you want the weekly ranges because they are so useful, that is down in the link in the description for Patreon. Apple, this is kind of a big deal because this actually doesn't look too bad as far as a pullback goes. Remember when we were talking about Apple up here, we were just saying this looks kind of like a rejection divergence. I'm sure there's a 15-minute one in here, but I would really like to see that pull down into 225.84. Where do we go? 225.84, and we start to consolidate because there is support here. Now you're not seeing that immediate reaction after a curl up, seeing that nice positivity. It seems there people are waiting on the sidelines a little bit for some reason. Maybe it just hasn't hit the tape yet, but you can see how the 30-minute hovering by that center line, it means anytime that drops off and breaks through 225, you could end up in this zone really quick. We could go fill that gap maybe by next week. So this is something key to pay attention to. If we notice, the hourly chart is going to be the one to follow for this one as well. We have a swing trading course down in the description below. This is pretty much swing trading. If you see this happen, right? You see that price action get above those moving averages there, and then you see the RSI above that center line. You're just waiting and saying, hey, if that MACD does cross, maybe on the next bar, you're able to see that upward move. The most likely scenario, if that does cross up on the hourly, is, hey, take out this high, go a little bit higher. The bearish thing here would be we fail to do that, and then we actually keep heading down on this 2-hour because we need to pull back a little bit further. So we could pull back a little bit further and then curl up, right? Curl down a little bit more and then curl back up before we see some positivity. Notice we are talking about some positive things for Apple here because it is so high up into positive territory, all right? If you need to learn more about the MACD and the behavior of the MACD, how to actually utilize it so you can understand it to use it for trading, then the courses are down there in the description. We talk extensively about the MACD. And I have to pay attention to upside here for Apple because it came to a very important point here and now it's consolidating. So if that does break through here, you have a pretty large move that could end up happening if you're able to break through. Now, this isn't a perfect cup and handle by any means, most likely because of this blip right here, but you can see how Apple has a way to go up towards 250. So that's why if you're really bearish here, that's fine. Just be open to the bullishness coming in, and that will help you not lose money. Tesla, I think, is begging for a 2-hour pullback. The reasoning for that is a lot, right? Overbought, really high up MACD, and you have price action that is now outside of your weekly expected move. This is one that I'm paying attention to. The 30-minute signal did cross, and you're seeing that loop right back up, right? It doesn't mean that you're maybe wrong in saying that a move down to something like 235 would make sense here. It just means your timing might be a little bit off. So if our timing's a little bit off, then this could just push up one more time. We manage the trade. We see another point of divergence maybe right here, and then we see that come down. That divergence was slightly violated here on the RSI, but it is still holding strong on your MACD. So the most likely scenario here for Tesla is a 2-hour pullback or the positivity continues, right? What we more so are talking about when we say the most likely scenario is a pullback is the most likely scenario for you to have a trade opportunity. A trade opportunity opportunity. This isn't necessarily the best opportunity for upside right now. You have nothing telling you that there's more upside to be had just yet on, say, a 2-hour time frame. But if it did this, bounced off of this area and curled right back up, well, then it would look something like this, and you would have an actual reason or opportunity for some upside, kind of like this bar right here, right? We went down, then we saw this big cross up, managed to trade on a 30-minute crosses back up, boom, hits a weekly expected move. That's how all of this is done. Is very, very cool, but we want to wait and be patient for opportunities. We do not just want to jump into something because it is going up, especially if it's at these levels. Amazon almost completing a pretty damn big reversal signal here. You can see Amazon, ever since this high over here, we've really had a bunch of 2-hour divergences telling you a daily bull pullback might be happening soon. So if this 2-hour rolls down, first of all, we still have to be open to a pullback, not reversal and trend right away, because this is a strong move. Yes, it has divergence up here. Yes, that can pull down a little bit more dramatically, but if that just curls back up into positive territory, you might have another move higher. Okay, that's one thing to pay attention to. I just want to keep in everyone's mind, even if things get a little bit bearish, just be open to positivity at all times. If that positivity doesn't happen, awesome, your bearishness is more and more justified. But if you start to see things curl around, start to confirm into positive territory on these MACDs, we can see more upside. Going into the shorter time frames, does this 2-hour have an opportunity to cross down right now? Yes, it does. You have divergence all across this. You're starting to get tight, and now you saw bigger swings, right? We saw this tight, and then we started to swing a little bit higher, then swing lower, now swinging higher again. So it is opening up, and if that does cross up, maybe it goes and makes that slight divergence point, right? Maybe we hit some kind of weekly expected move up here. We hit that, we get a little divergence point here again, and then that rolls down. And the key thing here is going to be, can it go negative? Because we haven't been able to go negative on any of these curl overs just yet. So that's really what you're looking for in order for Amazon to go down from here. But also it's what you're looking for to actually have a trading opportunity, say on a 2-hour, to get that next swing to the upside. Now, NVIDIA is really interesting because you do have these points here, and you actually did go make a little bit of divergence. Now, that is spread out, so you don't necessarily want to look at that on a 30-minute. You just want to say, hey, if the 30-minute does curl down, I want to be open to a retest and then it turning around, right? A quick turn down, quick turn up. That's what I would be looking for here. But if you look over at a 2-hour, you start to see things more clearly. And I always said I thought we would head to the top of this range and make some kind of 2-hour divergence, and that's when I'm going to pay attention. Doesn't mean the downside has to happen. Doesn't mean I'm some kind of magician that knows this is going to turn down. It's just a point to pay attention, and right now could be that point. Now, I think we do have the opportunity to go a little bit higher, maybe do something like 123. So if we do that and still end up turning down, I want to be thinking into the future a little bit. If that does curl back down, I will have that divergence confirmed. We can see the divergence points coming across this right now on the RSI. On the MACD, it's close to the center line, so I'd be paying close attention to any kind of turn downs from NVIDIA. And the reason that I would mainly be focusing on being a little cautious, maybe treating this period of time to be a little bit patient and not get euphoric or anything like that, is just because you're seeing a similar thing over on AMD, and I think it's even worse here. You see that upward price, we see the flatness kind of like the Qs, and we do have that divergence across the way, and you're getting another point here. So this still needs to curl down, and that still could just be a pullback to break out and head higher. So we're open to this, but we know if this crosses, that is a reversal in trend signal, meaning that can go negative. So this can go into a negative trend. And I think the way you're going to know if this is going into a negative trend is if you start getting 2-hour closes below this low. Because if we go below that, that's going to be a breakdown area, and we might react up to it and reject and continue that negative trend. So that's what I'm really paying attention to for AMD. It tells me that some daily charts could start to roll over. So just pay attention to your 2-hour charts. The 30-minute is something I'm also watching, because you can even see all those divergences on a 30-minute, and they are very, very steep, right? They're a little wonky. We've seen some wonkiness, but the main points are holding with that divergence. And if that turns down, that 2-hour turns down, and all of it starts to turn down. And you really have to pay attention to this point right here, because I think that's going to be a key breakdown area. And if you really want to pay attention, then pay attention if dailies start to roll. If dailies start to roll, that's going to mean bad things. Meta is seeing strength, but every time we see strength, we get some form of consolidation, right? This is a great move here, but we get that consolidation and then we turn up again. So is this the time to jump in? Well, this wasn't even overbought and it pulled back like this. This is overbought, okay? This is overbought. So it could just have a minor pullback on a 2 hour. We'll talk about that, but daily pullback, I would really be looking for a reaction somewhere to fill this gap soon over the next couple of weeks. If we don't see that, we see it actually drop a little bit lower and break through this level, well, I think you actually could create some structure from there to break down, right? Get some kind of left head and right shoulder. Meta is going up and up and up for a long time here. And so a pullback would be justified here, even if it happens just on your 2 hour chart. You had the 2 hour able to cross. We had some little divergences in here on the 30-minute, but we're not going to go over those too much. But what you want to say here is the most likely scenario for Meta is to not do what we just talked about, is to not go all the way down like this. It's actually to be able to hold up at a higher level. It's some kind of gap fill, whether that's this one here or this one here. It's most likely to pull down or move sideways and then start breaking to the upside because this MACD is so positive here. It is so positive that if it gets to that center line and just curls up, you can see some bullishness come in. So now we know two things for Meta. We know how it could be an opportunity to the upside, but we also know, hey, we have to pay attention if we start to see this kind of look, because that's the opportunity to the downside. AMC and GME, first of all, AMC, okay, this is a very bad thing. I'm just going to tell you, if you see this on a regular stock, this is not a good thing, right? You've consolidated, you've tried to hold above that 200 and you just lost it. So you're spreading out the Bollinger's bands down. I still like that level of 437, right? We used that a ton. When this thing really popped off, we used a level of 437 to say that's the level we're most likely going to keep gravitating to. And it worked, right? It worked really well. And we might be gravitating to there one more time. The main thing you need to know, because most people want this to go up and this is a breakdown, that is a bad sign. If you want to see this thing go up, you need this thing to turn back to the bullish side. You need this to turn and give you a green impression on that histogram. That's what you need to have a chance for this to see something crazy. To see something crazy, got to break above 530. Now for GameStop, we have a little bit of a different story, right? We have a different story going on here because GameStop has big divergences, right? We see that divergence here in the nearest price action. You see that, and you see it between those lows, but you have MACD divergence across the whole thing. So this is saying, hey, I've got a strong move in me if you just let me go positive. So are the short sellers, are the market makers going to let this thing go positive? Well, the closer we get to Friday, the less likely that is to happen. I'm just going to be honest with that. Once you start getting towards Friday, they start to really suppress the stock because you're going into those expirations. So big point here is going to be, can you break through 2412? I want to say tomorrow, because once you get to Thursday, it's kind of like, hey, we're heading into Friday. They're probably not going to let the stock do too much. But I just wanted to mention, these are great signals. If they can hold, just note that if GME pops off, AMC most likely will follow. All right, now we're going to take a close look at volatility and notice that that daily time frame was not able to curl up. And we did talk about this a couple days ago. We talked about the fact that, hey, we can still go get that retest of the 200 again, right? We can retest into these levels. We'll see what happens there. For the most part, you just have to realize this 50 and realize how high it is above the 200 and how that is a crash signal. That is a major crash signal. So you have to pay attention to now, even though this is subsiding, we said, hey, if this crosses down on this MACD, most likely we're going to see higher prices. SPY goes to an all-time high. Fantastic. Awesome. We even found reversal signals right here. That was great. But now we have to be paying attention to any time that that comes back in, because you've really reloaded here. You're a little bit closer to the center line if you would turn around soon, but you may need to react down to that 200 first. As I go into a 30-minute, these are signals that I've been paying attention to, the 30-minute signals for volatility. And we just noticed one thing here. So originally you had these great reversal signals, right? And they were really showing up on this MACD, right? Showing really good divergence. But I just want you to notice the recent times for this is actually coming down lower than this point. So that's not a good sign for the MACD. But I want you to quickly click on the RSI, okay? Double click on your RSI. Notice that the price action is coming down. Double click on that and just do this, right? Grab a line, take the furthest down point and say, okay, is this divergence in some way? Well, I would say that if I hold my mouse here, that's a little bit higher up, we have an upward move for the RSI. Now that more so would lean lean you towards a bounce, not necessarily some kind of big thing because it's not on your MACD at the same time, but it still can be. So you want to see if this has enough steam to turn up the daily time frame, then this can start to get a little worrisome for stocks. One thing we noticed live was the dollar was really suffering here. The dollar really suffering. So that is something interesting. Note that the last time we saw stocks come down, what happened? Well, the dollar came down. So is this buying in some way, or is the dollar about to crash? That is something to pay attention to. As of right now, you have not crossed down on this MACD, but I was leaning towards this 99.41 level to be tested and to create some kind of divergence where the dollar starts to pop off. So this is a level that I'm paying attention to. We'll be watching this live tomorrow, just paying attention a little bit to the dollar. But for the most part, you're still at that level where you can bounce up from. And I think even if you do see some bullishness and you get 99.41 tagged, I would be very interested to see if that starts to turn back around with some kind of divergence here. So pay attention, because if the dollar is going down, people could be adding money into stocks or other riskier assets. Therefore, you have to pay attention to if that reverses, because if the dollar stops going down and starts to go up dramatically, you might have a little bit of a sell-off on your hands. But there is a way up, there is a way down, and that's why we trade like water. The main takeaway here is trading like water is a great thing, because we can notice in front of us that there looks like a risky signal, but we also see a way that stocks can go higher. And so that really helps you out if you can watch those signals, be a little bit patient, wait for one of those to confirm, and then make a decision. That is something very good that I like to do in my own trading. That is what I teach in those courses down in the description. If you're trying to learn anything that we're talking about, if you're trying to learn more about these ranges, you can go get that down in the description right now. It is 90% off still. We're going to leave that for a little while, maybe even until 2025, because things are looking a little bit crazy out there and we could experience something bad. So I want everyone to be able to learn. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you were able to learn something, and maybe we have some ideas going into tomorrow, and we can always be patient, wait for more price action, because things start to make more sense. The more time we are patient, the more time we can spend looking and analyzing and making sure that we're making a good decision. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for liking, subbing. You guys are always fantastic about that. And I hope you guys have a fantastic night. Peace.